Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Ndubisi Nwokolo. On behalf of the Nextier family, I warmly welcome all of you to the second development discourse for the month of March. 2 weeks ago, we had a discourse here which focused on identity politics. We looked at a post-election violence in Nigeria. Today, we'll be looking at protectionism, trade, policy option, and way forward.
How do we think about trade policy in the context of supporting our domestic industry, but also thinking about some of the costs as well? And so as individuals, trade is a fundamental part of our lives. Every country trades, we know that. But what do you do if you have systemic problems that mean that you always seem to import more than you export?
Basically, generally speaking, what are the trade policy objectives usually? What are they? For Nigeria, it's stated that the objective is to diversify the export base and continue to liberalize the economy, which sounds to me like a very laudable objective to have as our trade policy in this country. There are things that are produced in Nigeria in protected sectors, and you find that when you compare with China, for example, it costs so much more in Nigeria than in China, and it's cheaper, but then we don't want the cheaper goods. So basically speaking, those years of protectionist policies, well, as the data shows, didn't deliver growth for the economy. And the sectors that were being protected, for example, the textile sector, died, basically. Quite frankly, I think we're at a point where we should be discussing which way forward for Nigeria. For me, I think Nigeria has tried the protectionist policies for so long now that it doesn't take rocket science to realize that it's time to drop it and do something different. If you keep doing the same thing, you can't get a different result. So Nigeria just really needs to change certain things and really mean it this time.
I asked this question one time when I was doing my PhD in trade law. I asked my colleagues in the WTO, and I said, what is protectionism? Because that was the issue at that particular time. Can we take a look at this word protectionism? To protect means to guide. To protect means also to preserve. Would you accuse me if I guide my territory? Would you accuse me if I protect or preserve what belongs to me? Before you accuse Nigeria of running a protectionist agenda or trade policy, the first question would be, does Nigeria even have a trade policy? Who should be accused of running a protectionist agenda? Is it the person that I export my yam to and he throws it back to me and says, no, this yam had some fertilizer that we do not like, and there are some worms that are coming out of it, and before I know what is happening, he throws it back to me, and all the money I spent on the ocean drops there. If I borrowed money from the bank, I'm already trapped. Government must protect what they have. What we have for now is that we do not have the competence of technology, but what we have is the number, the population, the 200 million people.
Is importing bad? And I'm saying this from this perspective. So imagine I am sitting in Arochukwu. I have cousins in Cameroon. I have cousins in Abakaliki. My cousin in Cameroon says you can buy my rice for 1,000 naira. My cousin in Abakaliki says you can buy me for 2,000 naira. Is there anything wrong with me choosing to buy from Cameroon?
Trying to import from Cameroon must understand that these are two different regional economic communities working under two different trade regimes. Cameroon is under CEMAC, Central African Market Community. Nigeria, the Arochukwu man, is from ECOWAS. Now, in answering your question directly, I think there is no problem with consumer satisfaction. Because I know that's where you wanted to look at. Consumer satisfaction. However, the entire gamut of economic well-being of the people does not have to do with the consumer alone. It has to do with other indices along the value chain. Can you also consider the fact that he is not helping your own economy to grow when you have substitutes here that he can buy from? He's rather creating job for that American.
If the price is higher here in Nigeria, for some you can just walk across, 10-minute walk to buy for cheaper, it means that there's some kind of redistribution happening in Nigeria that isn't happening probably across the border.
Can we really think about trade policy if we have our major ports, Apapa, in such a mess?
A few weeks back, we went to the port you just mentioned because there were some complaints from some of our members that their cashew had spoiled at the port there, waiting for export. And it was a sorry state. I don't want to go there. What we saw was not palatable. That was a loss to the economy. But we also discovered some intrigues, not being played by our own customs, but by shipping lines. If you go deeply in search of what is happening, you will also see the roles that some of the shipping lines are playing in the same game. On the other side, at the WTO, we're negotiating trade facilitation agreement. I'm sure many of you here know. Facilitate trade, and then everybody sighs. And all of a sudden, we just called that. Look, this particular trade facilitation agreement that we signed, in whose interest was it? And in whose interest is it now? Whose trade is being facilitated? Is it trade that comes in from outside to us, where the shipping lines will run quickly and ferry them? And before you open your eyes, they're already here in our markets. But by the time we parcel our own, we want to send out, the same shipping lines are now telling you that they have to go through, they are on transit, they have to go through, Cape Verde, they have to pass through. Excuses and excuses and excuses. And before you know it, if they tell you that they're taking this thing today, by the next 2 days, it will be there for the next 2 weeks.
When these protectionist policies are brought in, a question should be asked, who's benefiting from this? You will recall also that I said that for any kind of protection to be given, there must be well-established evidence that that sector, that industry, that whatever, has potential for growth.
Why do we encourage monopoly, especially in the era and the sector cement factory? I know there's a premier cement industry called Nextier, and Dangote is running a monopoly almost in this country. And we cannot do that. Government is not really helping the matter. As long as government is paying lip services to most of these things, we cannot do anything. The power is not there, the roads is not there, and how can you do business? What is the competitiveness?
And the problem we always have in Nigeria is because we don't have a developed national policy. We go into negotiations for an agreement and we just sign. And then we start complaining after we've signed. I'm a lawyer. And if you've signed an agreement, then you have to stick to the provisions of the agreement.
So my understanding is that Nigeria has a trade policy, but it's outdated. So yes, I'm with that lady. Nigeria needs to bring its brain to the table and negotiate hard.
Let's regulate our trade policy space. Let it not be eroded. Let nobody decide for me. I give an instance, I move 20-feet container from Hamburg to Apapa Wharf. €850. That's what I pay. But that same 20-feet container of my small shoes that I produce in Aba, send it to Tema. I spent 1,350 euros. The same 20-feet container is now costing me 1,350. I mean, who is fooling who, for God's sake? It's also very important to monitor the implementation of that trade policy so that we don't create billionaires, policy billionaires, overnight. In every law, there must be an opening. Once they go, pam, and they become billionaires. Thank you.
And I always say that the day you get your politics right is the day you get your country right. Until Nigeria achieves that, how we're going to achieve it, I don't know how we're going to do it because we're not working together yet. We don't know where we're going yet. We're just a confused country and a captured country. We need to be a lot more integrated. We're looking at trade. I'm looking at the whole gamut of what development is. Nigeria does not have a defined direction as a country. Without a defined direction, you cannot be looking at the subsets of development.
You cannot ascribe the problems of Nigeria to unseen hands and international manipulation. People will always do what they need to do for their own interests, okay? What is Nigeria doing in response to that? This is what our thinking should be.
I followed every of your conversations and it's been pretty interesting. But I just want to bring this to mind. So 2 years ago, I spent quite an amount of time in Algeria. And when you talk about protectionism, I haven't seen any African country that has actually executed protectionism as much as Algeria has done. They are also an oil-dependent nation like Nigeria, but you need to see what they have done for their people. Very soon, they will not just be assembling vehicles in Algeria, thanks to their protectionism, but they will also be producing and manufacturing and allowing Algerians to understudy them through these processes so that very soon, Algerians themselves will be producing their own vehicles in Algeria. Now, the Dangote we're talking about also made an attempt several times to break into the Algerian market. But thanks to the protectionism again, he was unable to do so. So again, I agree with Mr. Ken here, who says whatever it is, we have to protect it. What is ours, we must protect. We must get to a point where we're able to communicate our strength to the world, or they will make us see what we have as our strength, as our weaknesses, which is what we have been able to carry as a burden as a nation. Thank you.
And I would urge us to not end the debate here, but take it forward. See what we can learn about China. Don't believe what the panelists have said. Go read it for yourself. What did China do? What did Algeria do? What is Nigeria doing?
I want to sincerely thank all of you for honoring our invitation to participate in this program. Dr. Nonso, thank you very much for those introductory but yet insightful comments on the debates on protectionism and your expert use of the Socratic method of teaching by asking questions. Dr. Titi Akindeyinde, thank you for your salient perspectives on the motivations, opportunities as well as challenges inherent in protectionism, and for grounding the need for utilitarianism in our economic policy. That is, our economic policy should benefit the greatest number of people rather than the elite. And also for emphasizing the need for coordination in our economic policy, especially by asking the question, who benefits? That is very, very important. Then Dr. Ken Koha, thank you for your critical reflections on the politics underpinning Western protectionist agenda, and for emphasizing the need for eroding double standards, especially in regard to globalization of labor. You know, the point is that you asked if capital can be globalized, why can't we also globalize labor that we have? I believe when people were registering, you did put down your email addresses and your phone numbers. We are going to issue a communique maybe early next week, and I implore you to get back to us on the communique, make your inputs, and let us know. Once again, on behalf of the Nextier family, I thank you all for coming. God bless you.